regular meeting minutes, September 11th, 2025, and October 16th, 2025. Is there a motion?
So I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes for the Community Preservation Committee dated September 11th, 2025 and October 16th, 2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Moving on. New business. We're going into the 2025-26 project presentations. Couple things I want to say to the board. I've been in contact with the liaison from the Board of Selectmen to get the information that we need to make a reasonable judgment on how much monies are in the accounts. I was told I'd have it earlier. That did not happen. So I'm going to leave it up to the liaison at the select board level to provide that information to us. We're not going to deliberate what we hear tonight. We're going to listen to what the applicants have to say. You can certainly ask questions, but we're not deliberating at all. Not until we have a firm number of how much monies we have to distribute. So, any questions from the board?
Was there any indication as to when?
I just talked to the liaison this morning.
Okay.
So,
Could I also ask, is the expectation, I wouldn't expect us to vote before January, February anyway?
right.
Is that still the chair's opinion as well?
I don't know. I'm undecided about that. I really want those hard numbers first.
Understood, but that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying, like, even if we got those hard numbers in December, would you anticipate trying to vote before January, February? I typically wouldn't, because we typically haven't, but.
Right. Well, we could change that. So, anyway. Any other questions from the board members? And the other thing is, to the board members, if there's a period of time that you're leaving the town or you're going to be out of town, please don't tell us where you're going. Simply say you're not available for the meeting and pass that information on to the secretary. Thank you, I appreciate that. Okay. So, under the project's presentation, CH1, Affordable Housing Trust, you're up.
You want to be on the right?
Good evening, Brendan Lowney, Affordable Housing Trust.
Larry Ballantyne, Affordable Housing Trust.
My first question is going to be, before you even start, do we have a chair? Congratulations, sir.
Well, thank you.
Moving on.
But Brendan's carrying the weight. So.
Well. So this year, our application, it's a little bit more different, it's more direct on what we're looking for. We're requesting $650,000. $150,000 is for the rental assistance program, and the other $500,000 is directly for 456 Queen Anne Road. It's the application that's going to be presented to us very soon from Penrose for their funding for that project, for us to participate in the LIP process, the Local Initiative Program for the Friendly 40B. And those are the two items, so it's a little more straightforward than just a big ask of dollars, and we know exactly where the money's going. Any questions on the application? Or do you want to add anything?
No, I think you have the details in front of you. We're excited about the Penrose.
So if I could just
Go ahead,
ask a
ma'am.
question, is that why Penrose withdrew their original application from us
It
to go through you folks?
is.
Correct.
It is. It felt that, Brandon and I felt it was doubling up at a time where we didn't need to.
And is there intention to do a friendly 40B through a LIP process now?
Correct.
It is.
Okay,
Well, that's always been the process.
right,
yes.
and then you folks will participate together with the town and the Board of Selectmen on,
Yes.
in that whole
Correct.
process?
Correct.
Okay. I have some questions from an absent board member, if I may.
How did I know?
Do y'all, wait, do they have anything else to present before we get into questions?
No,
No?
we're doing this, yep.
So Kathy Green has asked, had asked what you specifically wanted the funding for. Now you've just clarified that
Yeah,
for us.
mhm.
She does also say that the trust looks to have currently 3.12 in cash and has land assets. Is that money dedicated anywhere as of this point, or?
Not than what we've already shown you. That is the Marceline property, 456 Queen Anne Road. We gave, I think, $150,000 to John Kerry as seed money, but that's been spent. And the rest of it is our normal trust functions, have money in reserve and look for opportunities. And as a trust, we keep trying to be creative and looking for real estate that might be access, give us more housing. We keep having people come in and talk to us about, can we do more for accessible dwelling units to help people out? Buy down programs. We don't have an answer, but we realize there's a need for housing. So we keep exploring and I think in the general philosophy of the trust is to have money available so that we can act if something comes to our attention.
So Kathy had a second question regarding the rental assistance program. She says from what she read, the fee for HPC is about $1,500 annually on the $36,000 that is currently being allotted for 6 families. And she was asking if that was correct. And is the program capped at 8 families?
You can, we can go through some detail. I'll just in
Yeah.
general say that we now have 8 families on the program.
Okay,
Brandon gave you more numbers. We have
Yeah.
2 on the waiting list. And the last email that Claudia and Brendan got said that they were pretty much, they were maxed out at that point. They had been getting more additional phone calls to join that, but since they're being told there's a waiting list, those have kind of died down.
Our commitment over the next 3 years is $141,000. I can hand this out to you if you'd like to see it, if you guys like to receive.
Please.
Yeah.
thanks, Brendan.
Thank you, sir.
There's 2 here.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Do you have an extra one for Kathy?
Well, I don't even have one.
You can have mine afterwards. You can have mine
Okay.
You
afterwards.
can have it.
Everybody wants to give me one.
Sorry, skip right past you. My apologies.
That's okay.
So currently, what we've committed to is, the first year we jumped in a little bit late, so that'll be 141 for the year, $141,000. What we're looking to do is potentially go to 5. There's a wait list right now for 2 families. They've been getting a lot of calls, but once someone hears about a wait list, they really don't want to be on the wait list. They think if they had the availability, there'd be more people coming to the table. So that wait list would jump, and they think they could fill it.
Okay.
And they were very surprised how quickly this program took off in Harwich. So
Okay,
we were able to jump right in. So whether we stay with the 3-year commitment we're doing, would we like to add some more people, but that would be something to consider. We haven't voted on yet, but you could see what another additional 5 would be, or another 10 families could be. But right now, we're helping out the 8 families.
so one of Kathy's questions was, whether it was capped at the 8 families and what was being done to get the word out to those in need for rental assistance. It sounds like the word is out there.
Yeah, it is.
If you've got 8 plus 2 on the wait list already. And she commented that with the 8 families, it looks like the 150 will last the 3 years. her comment was that she thought we needed another year to assess the success and the impact that the program might have.
Yeah,
So
and that was the
that's-
concern last time, but I think it's already there.
That's,
So
that
we're-
was
we're already
those were
in
Kathy's
motion, yeah.
comments.
Yeah.
So, from, just as a follow-up on the rental assistance program, is that going to essentially take the place of the one that the Housing Authority was running? Or is the Housing Authority still running that one as well?
I believe ours is completely separate.
Ours is separate, and I think, weren't they in front of you saying that they were dropping out of that program without lack of attention and lack of people coming in for, asking for help? And if I may make a comment, Mr. Chair. You know, initially when we came in, the question was, would people take advantage of it? And especially through Claudia and her contacts, we chose Homeless Prevention Council because one of the things that they really talked about, well, two things that really got our attention. One was is that they felt they had, for lack of a better term, a great marketing plan where let people know that we could help.
Yep.
And I think this shows that's been effective because we have people coming in, we have people on the wait list. The second reason that we chose them was that they had the most robust, I forget the term, help for people in getting out of the.
Like
you know,
counseling?
The counseling,
Financial
financial counseling, to move away from that.
Okay.
And so that remains to be seen how long these people stay on the waiting list, but that was another part of the contract we gave them, that those two items, I think, they've proven to be very effective with that.
So I'm just curious with the people that are being helped, are they single parents and children? Do we know the size of the families being helped? I'm just curious.
I don't have any
I
of those
don't,
details.
Claudia,
Don't have
yeah,
demographics?
Claudia handles that.
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm more
fine.
than happy to get,
That's fine, I was just curious. Not,
They haven't provided us that typically. That's a good question we should ask, get more demographics of that. I agree.
it looks like you're running the spectrum from the $300, $400, and
Correct.
$500,
Yeah.
Depending, so.
you see, yeah, that breakdown for the 8-parent households, you'll see that, it's all
And
different
you're,
size.
and again, so you have enough money for the 8, you have 2 on a wait list, and it sounds like you could have had
More.
another 5 more on a wait list if you had the opportunity and have the funds available. Any chance that you folks would take some of your existing budget and put it towards a rental program?
If we take the jump to the 5 and 10, yes.
Okay,
So if we get to another 5, then why not go to another 10?
all right.
So absolutely.
And that
Yeah.
was just the
That's kinda where we're at.
question, so.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's
And-
also information would be helpful for Kathy questions as well.
Great.
I'm good, David. Thank you.
Kathy stole our thunder.
She did.
That was it.
Okay, Marcy.
I just had a question. It's a wonderful program, and I can see you're helping these families, and like you said, you have 2 on the wait list. The 2 on the wait list, do they know approximately how long they have to wait, or so that they're not get discouraged?
I mean,
I don't have the answer to that. Because when the communication I read was that 2 on the wait list, from the HPC perspective, they were still going through their process, being sure that they qualified. And I'm not real sure how long that takes, and I don't know the answer to that.
Thank you.
All said, Marcy.
Thank you.
All right,
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. First of all, to answer Mary's question about the housing authority, since I'm on a housing authority, yeah, when the money runs out, that program runs out. They're not going to renew it after the funds run out.
Right.
So they're reverting to this program.
So just the last we had heard was that it wasn't being utilized because the $300 stipend wasn't enough to help anybody get into any new people to get into units. So that was the reason for the question.
Right. Their ceiling was, I think it's around 300. So
and we tried to give money, but there was some stipulation where we couldn't overfund it, and it just didn't happen. So we were willing to give money to that, but they couldn't receive it for some reason, so
Understood.
it never happened.
Yeah, the ceiling on the housing authority was such that they couldn't utilize it to
So
go
when
any
they
further.
received, I don't want to go too far off topic, when they had received the money the first time, it was similarly situated that they only wanted X amount because they wanted to fund X number of units for 3 years, and that's where they maxed it out, and so that's why they only had asked for, X amount of dollars from us and not more.
So,
And then the last update we had had, if I'm correct, was that they were having some difficulty finding people to utilize their program, so hopefully, doesn't seem like you folks are having the same issue if you're doing a range of funding for it, so thank you for that.
the other question I have is, there's a couple of people on the waiting list now. And so is there anything preventing you from dipping into your current funds and helping those applications?
We just got this report at our last meeting, so we just got this on Monday.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah. So this is fresh news for us, so
okay.
we just received this, so we'll probably put it on the agenda item and consider it.
Okay, so you haven't got to
Correct.
that point in the process, okay. So you could be, because you made a reference that in the future, you could dip into your existing funds until you got funds from CPC
Correct.
and backfill it. Okay, that's it. Change the subject just a little bit. So on your application for 650, so that's already taken up. So I'm asking you the question, are there any projects that you're looking out there that you might consider utilizing or going ahead with in the coming year?
With our other funding,
Yeah,
so currently, our next meeting coming up, we're going to be working on some RFPs for 3 parcels that we currently own.
okay,
Actually, 4.
right. So those are just, you're basically going to sell those, so that's going to be a,
2
Well,
for sale
that's-
potentially, and then 2 for development.
oh, okay.
Yeah, we haven't, that's been a long discussion. We're trying to get, we're looking at all 4, as Brendan says, and decide there's 2 that I think we can still do some building on. And we don't want to give those, we want to be really sure before we sell anything.
Yeah.
We're not losing the opportunity.
Okay. Thank you.
All set,
Is that,
John?
So those properties are the ones that are listed here in your proposal?
Yes.
I don't have anything else. Thank you.
And I'm all set. Kathy took all. Anyway, anything from any of the other board members?
I just would like to say thank you for the greater detail and the information. I know it's been, I know it's a challenge to get things built and to get things done. So it does sound like if you're working on RFPs and you're certainly making more progress than you have been able to in the past. So,
Yeah.
good job.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation.
We have a great committee.
Yes, you do.
Every committee should be so lucky.
Yes, you do.
Well, it's those 2 of us.
That's yours.
Just a suggestion, when you walk out this area, just look up and be careful that that thing that's hanging down over there doesn't come down on top of your head. Just, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at it, so just be aware, please.
Thank you very much.
We want you to stay on the committee.
Thank
Not
you.
get taken out.
Use the back door.
Here's the back door.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
very
folks.
much.
Okay, next. Lower Cape Housing Institute.
If we get,
Would you identify yourself, please?
absolutely. I'm Amanda Bebrin. I'm the Director of Housing Advocacy at the CDP. And if I get bonked with the thing, does that mean my application gets approved? Like, definitely? Thank you. I'm a repeat presenter, so I'll keep this brief. We're asking for $10,000 to support the Lower Cape Housing Institute, the same way that we do every year. The Lower Cape Housing Institute is a program that provides education, resources, and support to municipal officials and staff. We do that through a series of workshops on topics that we assess every year to address needs and conversations that we see around housing throughout the region. We also do peer groups so that our municipal officials can build relationships across town lines. Surprise, surprise, our towns are a little bit siloed sometimes in the way that we do things, so it's helpful for people to be able to build relationships, hear what other towns are doing, no need to reinvent the wheel. If someone else is doing something great, go ahead and borrow it. And housing is a regional issue, and so we are trying to foster that sense of like, how can we work together to address all of this? And all of the towns in the Lower and Outer Cape region are doing a tremendous amount. This year, we're actually running 6 workshops. Usually we do 5 workshops and 4 peer groups, but we're giving you 1 extra for bang for your buck this year. I'll stop there since I think you all have heard this from me at least. I think this is the 3rd year in a row, but I'm happy to answer any of your questions, and if you need more detail, I'm certainly happy to provide that.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll start with that.
Okay, question, do you know what those workshops are going to be?
I do. So we actually, we are halfway through our workshops for the curriculum year. We started a little bit early. We started right in September this year. So we have already done Housing 101, which is our introductory session. We try to catch new board and committee members every single year. Our second workshop was on messaging, communications and community engagement, and that was a topic that came specifically from our attendees to sort of get at, all of our towns are doing these really complex, multi-phase, sort of sector projects, and how do you communicate effectively with residents across 5 or 10 years and bring them along all the way to the finish line. So we did that in October, and then just yesterday we did Economic Development 101, the intersection of housing and small business growth. All 3 of those are already up on our YouTube channel and are available for anyone to watch. They make great background noise while you're making dinner to catch up on. We get speakers from across the region and from across the state to speak to best practices and examples and case studies from other places. And then in the new year, we are looking forward to Water Resources 201. We started off with sort of a water resources and housing our friends last year, and so this year we're going to build on that conversation. We're going to talk about form-based code and design standards, and we're going to talk a little bit about small business exit planning and our communities. So I'll share some added context. Last year, we sort of, as a theme, thought of the Institute as intersections in housing, understanding that housing is not siloed. It touches a lot of things and is touched by many other things. And so to be really effective in making good housing decisions, you have to see the big picture. And so since the CDP does have really deep expertise in small business technical assistance, we decided to thread in that specific sort of perspective this year, but we still look at the whole thing all the way around. But it was a great conversation yesterday. I'm happy to share that recording, but those are workshops for this year.
So you're all filled up for the coming year?
Yes, so I plan this sort of along the school calendar. So I do all of my thinking about it in sort of peak season when everybody is working all of their jobs in July and August, pull the curriculum together then, and then pretty much by September, Labor Day, at worst by sort of Columbus Day, I have the curriculum set and ready to go so we can get moving. It's a lot of logistics to pull together speakers and get everybody's slide decks and get everybody lined up.
Okay, one last question.
Sure.
If someone had a brainstorm or a brain freeze and thinking of something they were interested in,
Yeah.
along with housing, how could they message that to you, and maybe it's worthy and maybe it's not, I don't know.
Absolutely. So you come directly to me. You can call me, you can text me, you can come to my office, you can email me. As I mentioned, the messaging and communications workshop I heard that from a number of attendees. So either it goes into the following year's curriculum. The other thing that I have used in the past is that we have quarterly peer groups. So we have winter peer group coming up on December 10th. And sometimes if there is a topic that pops up last minute that is very popular or very timely, I will treat the beginning part of peer group as sort of a mini workshop and bring in like one speaker or do a little bit of a presentation on something. So there is some flexibility because we do want to be responsive to things change, the news changes, good things happen, we want to stay on top of it. So if you've got ideas, I'd love to hear them, Art.
Oh, thank you.
I'll set up.
Yeah, great.
Marcy?
I was just going to ask you, Amanda, so you find like you're getting more participation?
Participation is pretty good. So calendar year participation so far, I think we're at 251. And I wrote it down somewhere. We have 36 new registrants and attendees calendar year 2025. So, we cover 8 towns. There's a fair amount of churn in terms of all the boards and committees that we cover. I do my best to do a fair amount of targeted outreach, especially to new board and committee members, to let them know that we're here. And we are always open to other ideas in terms of reaching out to people and boosting attendance.
That's wonderful. You do a lot of work, and it really shows.
I think we do a good job making it look effortless, and there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that, like anything that's worth doing well.
Right. My other question is there also like in-person meetings, or is it mostly Zoom?
So the original program, when it started in 2017, was in person, and it was a 6-week certificate course, and we had the big binders, and everybody came to our office in Eastham. We're in Orleans now. And then during the pandemic, we shifted to a virtual format. And we find that our geography is a little bit unwieldy because we're Harwich all the way out to Provincetown. We've toyed with the idea of doing some in-person sessions. I may try for like summer peer group to get everyone together, but it's a challenge, even if we're in Orleans, are the Provincetown people going to drive 40 minutes and then spend 90 minutes at a seminar and then drive all the way home? So for accessibility and maximum participation, we've liked the online format. I will say that next year is the 10-year anniversary of the program, which is crazy. And so that may be a moment where we think about the format and changing things up a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marcy.
Well said, Marcy.
Thank you.
John?
So can you enlarge a little bit on the topic that you mentioned, answering Art's question about housing and water resources? What exactly is that covering, please?
Sure. So last year we talked about specifically sort of wastewater, and we did sort of the vocabulary about like, what does wastewater treatment mean? What are some of the different ways that you can work on it? This year, I think, it hasn't been planned yet, it's still in process, but this year I think we're going to talk about water availability. And how we're planning for our future, because obviously we live on a peninsula and we want to make sure that we're being sensitive to things like climate change and making good use of our natural resources. And so it's going to be about how are we making smart uses of our resources, how are we prioritizing things, and sort of always how are we reconciling or aligning, towns' different goals. So obviously housing is a priority, having clean potable water, having swimmable ponds, and clean ocean water are also priorities, and so how do all those things sort of mix together?
Thank you.
Well said, John. You got the floor.
Good evening. So one of the questions Kathy had, and I did as well, what does your Harwich participation look like currently and versus past? Are you finding new Harwich participants?
This year, attendance is flat, so we had 9 last year, and I have 9 so far this year. I have a couple of people who were like, now the program is stretching back almost 10 years. So I have some people who are already in my spreadsheet, but then weren't participating, who are now participating again. So I can't claim them as new attendees,
Understood.
but they're in different roles in the town, and it's been a couple of years. As always, I can use all the help I can get reaching people and encouraging them to come. I mean, your town meeting votes to spend taxpayer dollars on this. I have a really strong relationship with Brianna Powell, who's your housing advocate. I know that she puts all of this out to the Affordable Housing Trust and the Housing Committee. I've met with your planner before. So any ideas you have for boosting attendance, I'm all ears. I'll also say that we do record all of the workshops, and so if people can't attend, I record them and I send them through a follow-up. It's not unusual for me to hear from people and say, this sounds really great, I can't be there, and I make a little note and I make sure that they have it.
Now, do you still provide the certificate program for people that are doing X number of housing workshops?
We're not. We're thinking of it more as sort of a rolling curriculum at this point, but again, we've got this 10-year coming up next year, and if that's something that the towns would find valuable, I think we could have that conversation.
I'm just wondering if maybe you reinstituted the certificate portion of it, it might convince more people to take
Sure.
online, and people that were blocked out from, attending during the workday.
Sure.
Might actually have availability to watch them online and be able to.
Yeah, absolutely.
To follow through on that. Another question I just wanted to follow up on is, as you know, last year we had change in the omnibus budget in that ADUs are now as a matter of right in certain communities. Have you folks thought of building in any new ADU workshops into your curriculum? Because I think that's a topic that is certainly going to be necessary for not only the planners and the engineers and those that are looking for housing and those that are certainly house rich and cash poor too. So,
Absolutely. We are very lucky at the CDP because we have the Lower Cape ADU Resource Center, which is a collaboration between us and Homeless Prevention Council. So my colleague Talitha Abramson, her whole job is ADUs. So while she's sort of captured under the advocacy department, she is solely dedicated to ADUs. And so that's outside the scope of this particular grant application. However, she does a tremendous amount of education and workshops on her own. She's also done a couple of Funk Bus tours and taken municipal officials around to different ADU sites throughout the region to give people a sense of what it looks like when it's done. So I totally agree with you. It is so important that we have an entire person who's dedicated to that, and I'm happy to share her offerings and her contact information as well.
I think that's all for me for right now.
All set, Mary? All set, Kathy?
Kathy was first, I'm done.
Okay, any other questions from the board members? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you for having me.
And again, as you leave, exit,
I had already forgotten. Thank you
Go
so
the other
much.
door.
I'm going out the other door.
thank you again. Okay, next. Rec 2, Natural Resources, Howard's Natural Resource Department.
Hello.
Could you please identify yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Ridenauer. I am the Director of Natural Resources for the town of Harwich.
Okay, you have the floor.
So we are doing water quality first. So this request is for $35,793.53. And this is for 12 new dissolved oxygen meters. So for anybody, I know we're not all probably familiar with our water quality programs. We have a number of water quality monitoring programs with the town of Harwich. Some of those that you might be familiar with are more like the cyanobacteria, where you see advisories. But the department also has a very large volunteer network. We collaborate with partners such as the Harwich Ponds Coalition, and we have volunteers. So it's a very low-cost program in terms of the actual work itself. And they monitor a number of ponds across town. However, our equipment is a bit outdated. These 12 new dissolved oxygen meters, it's not just a replacement in kind, it's actually really a much better model. It's newer technology. Unfortunately, for the older equipment, I'm convinced they're some of the original DO meters. I know some of us have seen them, but they're like the big block ones, probably from the 90s. But not only do they not make them anymore, but maintenance is an option because they don't make the parts for them anymore. We do the best we can for maintenance. The lab that we contract with is very kind in that they will take up, they'll do their best. They have a specific DO meter technician that's done as much maintenance as possible, but we're just at the point where I don't have enough even for next season sampling with long enough cables to sample all the ponds for some of the depth that we have in Harwich's ponds. We might just go to questions if that's easier. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Okay,
But that's kind of just of it.
that's your concern. Art?
Yeah. What bodies of water do we test or, how do we-
So We test, hopefully we'll test more, but the way that we select and prioritize is based on the size of the pond. So whether it's a great pond, which is 10 acres or more, the level of access, of public access in particular, people, living, recreating on those ponds. A number of our ponds, Sand Pond, for example, is one that we actually added in this year to our sampling program. There's a public beach there, so there's not just recreation from residents, but also from that pretty significant public access point. So we do about 6 to 8 ponds depending on the year, and hope to expand that as well.
Okay, one other question, because Sand Pond, well, it's made some, it's been in the paper a little bit lately, about the quality. And I've used it myself once or twice in years gone by, and it's a great family location, and I know it's an asset to the town. So how often do you test the water, and does the public at large know that where you're testing and how often and what the results are? That's a lot in one question.
So the testing, is your question more geared toward the advisories, like a health advisory, or just in general? Because I guess I'll address both. So we have different types of testing. So the water quality monitoring that is conducted, that these units would be used for, really creates a pond profile. So we're looking at how much oxygen is in the water, and we're taking those readings at various depths, so you actually get the full profile of the pond at very specific times of year. So we have typically a baseline time of year, and then we go to the worst water quality time of year, and we look at what the oxygen levels are at those varying depths in the respective pond. For more real-time data, that would be a separate program that we contract sampling, for example, with cyanobacteria, health department, again, different equipment, different type of sampling that we use for real-time advisories, but health department has sampling through Barnstable County Department of Health and Environment. And so they conduct sampling, and that would be like your E. coli and that type of bacteria. One of the ways in which this is helpful towards overall pond health and what are we doing for management is it hopefully ideally it can help us sort of flag a pond, is sort of the common term that I would use, is we're doing this monitoring across several ponds, and a lot of them we maintain that baseline monitoring. It's very important, not just because we have a legal obligation to it, but because we want to know what's going on with our natural resources, so that if an issue does arise, that we can address it more quickly, as opposed to waiting till there's a very big problem. So the monitoring allows us to have a baseline, and then the worst water quality of the year, and just have an idea of what is sort of normal for that pond. And then again, if something changes, or something changes drastically, maybe we sort of flag that as a candidate for further sampling. But the ones that might be flagged, hopefully you're catching an issue and being able to address it earlier with this type of monitoring, with our dissolved oxygen meters and the other instruments that we use for the sort of more traditional monitoring within our department volunteer network.
Good, thank you very much.
John, thank you.
So disclaimer, I've been participating in that testing program for probably 10 years or something. And I can testify to the decrepit nature of the new instruments.
Yeah, unfortunately. Sorry, John.
So my question is about this particular quote. This is YSI, right?
Correct.
Are there other vendors? Have you gotten quotes from other vendors?
So there are other vendors. This is a company that we've used in the past. It's what we'd probably prefer to use. There are other models, so pricing across different companies tends to be pretty similar from the research and quotes that I've done for this particular proposal. Some of the cheaper models, there are cheaper models which is a question that I anticipated, and, why do we want this particular model? And it's really because of the features. One of the restrictions in some of those less expensive models would be, for example, the cable length. So when you get to something like John Joseph's Pond, you actually need a pretty long cable for that, and the less expensive models actually don't come with that adaptation and an option to have a longer cable. And then just the sampling, like the ability for that to store data, the optical sensor, so that is one of the elements of this proposal that makes it more of an upgrade, is the type of sensor. So again, across companies, prices I think don't have too much variability from what I've seen, but the optical sensor might be more expensive in some cases. It's preferred for sampling methods, so there's less maintenance, there's less need for calibration. It doesn't require, you're familiar with our warm-up time? No warm-up time, which is great for sampling. For the sensors that we use now, the way that they actually operate is, it's like a tea bag. You're kind of doing this with it. And the sensor itself is eating up the oxygen, and that's how you're getting your reading as you're sampling. So our volunteers are doing this. You can imagine that if you're able to hold it still and it's not eating up oxygen, that obviously increases any potential sampling error. And keep in mind, we have a lot of different people doing this, and you're doing this the whole way down throughout the depth profile of that respective pond. So greater accuracy, no oxygen consumption during measurements. You can use it in harsh environments. So some of those that are designed differently are a little bit more geared toward like a laboratory setting, or a lot are made for wastewater sampling. So this particular type of sensor is good. I mean, we use it, had some windy days where we've done saltwater, we also use them for saltwater sampling. So we've had some pretty windy days on the boat where we've had to do water quality monitoring. And I mean, you think the sound would be nice. It's not always that nice. We get a lot of southwest over there. So this is appropriate in terms of the accuracy and the stability of the particular unit. If you have any suggestions for other companies,
No, I don't. But I
I'm
do
definitely
have-
open to that.
I,
And the other thing I should say is the rebate.
Please don't encourage them.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to keep a lid on it, but I do have one more question, which is,
Yeah.
specifically, you look at the quote you have here, and they're charging $1,000 for a 20-meter cable. I'm sorry, that gives me heartburn. So, connected to that, do the sensors themselves have a connector on them? Or is the cable hardwired to the sensor so there's no chance for you to just separately fabricate a cable, order one for $25 instead of $1,000, and use that instead of what they're forcing you to spend $1,000 on?
Yep, so so I have three different things here in the proposed budget. So the first are the 10 meter, are 10 units, and those come with a cable. So the cost per unit is actually $2,800, and that comes it's a whole kit together. And those are typically affixed, like the ones we have now, several of them we're not able to swap, because I tried for John Joseph's to see for certain ones if we could swap out. So it depends on the model. So the ones that are the 20-meter cables, so there are only 2 of those, because we have several ponds that are less than 10 meters in which that instrument would be appropriate. But we do need a couple with the longer cables. And those are the ones that are about $1,000 for the meter, and then $1,000 for the cable. So, but I've looked at a few different companies. We have some seasonal staff in the office too that have worked in not water quality, but similar chemistry related industries that suggested some companies, and it is about $1,000 for the unit and $1,000 for the cable for that type of model. Again.
Thank
that
you.
have that are
Well
also
said, John.
sensors.
Yeah.
And then another note on the YSI, just because there is a note in here, and that is a YSI specific thing. They have a rebate program going on, and it's I try to be careful, disposing of electronics, so it is a good program. Fingers crossed that they'll keep it. I did not, for the requested funds, I'm assuming that it might not be available, but ideally, in my perfect world, the rebate would still be available, and we would actually be able to save a couple $100s per unit by sending in our old units and getting some money back through that same company with which we have an account.
Thank you.
All set.
Yeah.
Quick question. Is Bucks Pond as deep as John Joseph?
I have to check the particular depth on Bucks, but John might be able to
Go
answer.
to the Harwich Ponds Coalition website, there's a table of all the
Yes.
ponds in Harwich, some of which there are known depths, others there is
Yes.
no published or known depths. I couldn't tell you, but I'll get the table up, and when we're done, I'll show
Yes.
it to you.
Apologies, off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but yes, we do sample Bucks Pond and John
Okay.
Joseph, so.
You were kind of confused me when you were talking about water quality sampling. Because recreation uses that information. Does the state do any of that?
So,
When it comes to E. coli, things like that?
yes.
Again, you're
so-
talking to a layperson, so,
Yeah, and just to be clear for the committee members, that's not related to these instruments that are being requested for funds.
Okay, all
But
right.
just as a matter, just to answer your question, it's related to state regulation. So, I mean, we also have, really want to get in the weeds about water quality. We also have water quality sampling with the Division of Marine Fisheries. So like I go out with them and we do fecal coliform sampling several times a year, and they test regularly related to the state regulations for shellfish harvest, that they have. So
okay,
they-
I'm taking you way off
and
course.
then the state
I'm
has
sorry.
bathing beach regulations, so the bathing beach regulations are more geared toward that, and that would be, I guess, I don't know if you want to call it through the state, but it's state regulations, and then the county does the testing, and then that flows through the local health department.
Okay. Mary?
Hello. It looks like these are strictly for replacing your old meters, that they can't be fixed anymore. They've exceeded their useful life, so you need new ones. Kathy had a question about whether this really rose to the level of maintenance versus actual open space. I guess and correct me if I'm wrong, my look at it is that you need these in order to know what the baseline is on your pond so that you can figure out what you need to do in addition to keep them healthy, make them
Correct.
healthy.
And I would add just that it is a great improvement, that I wouldn't necessarily look at it as we're replacing something in kind in terms of maintenance. We have done a lot of maintenance, for sure. But yes. That'd be one
Second
thing I'd
question
add.
for you is, where are you with your procurement? Are you comfortable that you can purchase based on these quotes versus you don't have to go to a level of an RFP or bidding? I don't think bidding starts until 50,000, correct? If I'm wrong.
Dave's nodding.
Yeah, the last time I heard it was
Yeah.
50.
Okay, so
That was from Joe.
you should be relatively good with these
believe
quotes
so.
going forward.
And by the way, any monies that are left over, we claw back.
Well, we're hoping for a rebate here.
So.
That will help.
So I guess my only comment would be, if you did find other companies who were asking for additional quotes, I would say provide those to us before we do
We vote.
our voting, which is usually January-ish. So
Okay.
that was my only other question for you. Thanks,
Thank you.
and welcome.
Marcy?
This is very fascinating. I don't really know, I'm a layperson as well. I'm really happy that you said that you're including Sand Pond with this testing, because I used to bring my kids there, and I thought it was interesting, is at one point, are you with the bloom algae, how that became an issue? I went there once, and the sign was backwards, so you didn't know when you came in the parking lot
Oh, when you're leaving?
when you were leaving, but I've never.
Yikes.
But my question is in regards to with, you're saying with the meters and the cables and what you have has been repaired and can no longer be repaired. These, I'm assuming, would like have a longer warranty life because they're new.
Yes, and I would have to double check my warranty life. They do have a warranty life, and I have to say that the customer service that I've been coordinating with, because obviously I had to obtain a quote, but they're very persistent too, because they don't just have somebody that does the quote, but they have people that reach out to make sure that you're getting the right device for the right
Application?
for the right sampling and making sure, so they're very responsive. And I apologize, I have to double check to see if I don't want to say the wrong year for the warranty. I may have to double check. I want to say it was 1 or 2 years, but I may have to follow up.
That's fine, you can provide the follow-up information.
Okay.
Anything else, Marcy?
Okay, thank you.
All right, is there anything else by any of the board members? Hearing none, thank you very much for your presentation. Any information you come across to provide to the board, you can send it to the CPC website,
Okay.
and that'll get distributed.
And then
When I get her attention, go ahead, you've got the next one.
Okay.
So the next one is Rec 3 Shellfish Lab updates.
Yes. Sorry, I know we've moved on. I know I included for that 15 to 20 years for lifespan for the,
Oh, there you go.
if that's, I don't know if that's helpful. All right, Shellfish Lab. If you're not familiar with the Shellfish Lab, it's a wonderful place. It's a wonderful community place. We're trying to make it more of a community resource. It is our town's upweller. So we have shellfish seed in there. We have both quahog, so hard-shell clam, and oyster seed at this facility. This year we did a little over 500,000 seed. It's been in operation since 1994. I don't have it in here as a historic building or anything like that, although it has been there, I was told, since 1933. That's when it was moved there, so I don't know the original date of the building itself. But it is an old facility, so we're doing, I know somebody had asked about, or Mary had asked about maintenance for the last project. So in terms of maintenance, we have done quite a bit of maintenance on the facility. We had to do some emergency maintenance in order to get up and running this year, so facilities was very helpful in addressing some of those immediate requirements for maintenance in order to be in operation this year. While we were in operation, we were only in operation at a partial capacity, so we had 8 out of the 12 tanks running, and didn't have anything supplementary to the upweller facility, so no like nets or bags or any like floating gear or anything like that outside of the facility. Despite being at a limited capacity this year, we're still able to run 12 educational about 12 educational programs in about 2 months, and do all of our work. So we'd love to expand the educational programming that we have there. We work with the Monomoy Middle School, Harwich Conservation Trust, Preschool Explorers, the Monomoy Shore Program, and are happy to collaborate if anybody else, if you know of anybody that would like to do a field trip there. We also do free public tours. So the first part, the requested funds would just be the educational materials. I think it's a pretty short ask for a pretty far reach, since we do collaborate with a lot of different groups, and during our open hours, it's free, it's open to the public. So anybody, any age is welcome. So the ask is for PVC posters. So I coordinated with Thompson's Printing to make sure that we had a quote for material that would be appropriate for our facility. I don't know how many people call there and say everything is going to get sprayed, everything's going to get wet, everything's going to get sprayed, but it's just a wet facility. The building itself is in the intertidal zone, and then we have water splashing from tanks. We have to hose everything down every day. So they provided a quote for $362 for PVC posters, and those would just be educational information about the upweller, about the life cycle, about our operations, and about what the town of Harwich is doing for propagation and where it goes, why that's important. Magnifying glasses and a microscope, again, for the field trips. And then we also use, the same with the dissolved oxygen meters. We actually use those, and we use equipment at the lab for training. We have seasonal staff, we have high school interns, and this year we had some young professionals that are coming out of college and looking to get into the natural resources field as a career. So we use all of the equipment at the lab. We use our DO meters, we use this equipment to train them and help them get into that field. So it's important in that community sense as well. All of the shellfish from here are what we use to stock to enhance the wild population across recreational areas. So while it's not a proposal that's specific to a specific recreational shellfishing area, it is the facility that sources 100% of the seed that enhances those areas. So however you want to look at that, I suppose I think it's very direct. I know that's somewhat indirect in terms of the proposal and what the funds are for. The funds aren't for purchasing seed. We do that through our operating budget and through state and county funding. We have funds for the seed. What we need are new tanks and floors. So that's the other part of the ask, is about $19,000 for the tanks, and that includes the shipping and everything, and then about $5,000 for materials to do the floors. So the actual labor would be provided by DPW facility maintenance. So you have a letter of support from them, as well as one of our collaborators, Harwich Conservation Trust. And then there will be another letter, or we're requesting a letter of support. So I hope there will be another letter of support after next week's Waterways Committee meeting. But again, the labor will be in kind through DPW for the floors. I'm sure Sean wouldn't mind helping me move some tanks in and out.
He would.
Oh, he can designate, maybe delegate. But we have plenty of harbor staff to help with that as well. So the materials that are being requested, this is kind of another case of we have maintenance, and then we have sort of replacement and upgrading. So we do a lot of maintenance. We'll somehow have to get through another season in terms of where we are in the fiscal year. So we've done a lot of epoxying. I've done a lot of patching. I redid a bunch of the plumbing and removed a lot of things between when I started June 2nd and when we had seed in there the first week of July. We were in there a lot of hours between myself and facilities to actually get the place up and running. So I'll continue to do maintenance. I'll continue to patch tanks and patch leaks. But those tanks are over 30 years old. They're pretty thick wood base. Feel free to come by and check them out. They're very thick wood base with years of layers of fiberglass and gel coat, so they're not in the best condition. The condition of the tanks has contributed to the deteriorating condition of the floors, so we have some pretty soft spots. We'll do some maintenance in between just to get us to a point where we hopefully have funding for new tanks and floors. So facilities and I will do that out of our operating budget. So we will conduct maintenance between now and whenever when we have funds for those to be replaced. The tanks that we're requesting, again, similar to water quality instruments, it's excuse me, it's not an in-kind replacement. It's a replacement for something that's end of its useful life to a much better tank. So we have more modern materials available. Those are pretty heavy. We try to be sensitive. We have a lot of younger staff, but we also have a lot of older volunteers. I don't really want to hurt any of our backs, so it's nice for us, but it's also, I think, just a better use of our resources to have those lighter fiberglass tanks. So they're fiberglass molded tanks. They don't have that heavy wood base. They also come with fancy new adjustable legs, so that gives us a lot more versatility in terms of our current facility, but also we are requesting for planning and design of a new facility outside of CPC. So my plan is that if we get new tanks, that if we hopefully get another 30 years or something out of those tanks, those would be able to go into a new facility, if we can maintain the ones we have as much as we like, but they're also not a candidate really for moving to a new facility. Part of that's just the setup of the tanks. And they do not have adjustable legs, if you could guess. And some of the legs are quite rotted out, and several of them have been reinforced with additional wood over the years or have been shimmed up because of the deterioration. So these tanks, again, are fiberglass molded tank. They're thinner. Some of them do have a little bit of a foam core at the bottom, but anything used is a much lighter and more modern material. I think that's
Are you set? Okay, I'm going to lead off the questioning. Do you consider this a public safety issue with the condition of the floors and the stands for the tanks?
I think we can get another season out of it. We did have public safety issues at the beginning of the season, so we tried anything that's an immediate public safety, because we did have that at the beginning of the season. We did address, not to say that this wouldn't be in that condition,
Understood.
like after the winter. I hesitate a little bit because we did do a bit of maintenance, like the floor and the loft, for example. That was an immediate public safety issue. We did not want equipment or human falling through what was like almost a hole in the floor. So that got replaced. Railings, the building inspector come through and made a number of recommendations. So there were railings added to the stairs. I mean, we have kids come in there and stuff. So,
Was the facility closed down at any point in time?
yeah, it closed in the winter. That was a little bit of my hesitation, is we really have to assess the condition again at the opening of the season, because we don't know what winter storms will happen. So where the facility is currently located at Witchmere Harbor at the town pier, I think I mentioned it's in the intertidal zone, so water comes under it daily, and that's normal. But if we have a particularly high tide, the facility actually floods. Or if we have a high tide, more like combined with a storm. So especially this time of year, when we start to get some of those big tides combined with a storm, the facility actually floods. So I'm comfortable going in there now. We have another field trip planned for December, even though it's an off-season, because we're trying to expand the educational programming that's offered by the department, with our collaborators in the town. But I don't know what it'll be like after winter storms come next season.
When do you start seeding?
So we hope to get seed in June. Sometime, it used to come in May. So we used to get seed in May, but it just kind of comes later and later. So June is more typical now for each municipality receiving their seed order through the county bidding process. We can get seed earlier if we go outside of the bidding process, but I would anticipate that we would receive seed in June. And then in 2025, our oysters are just out of control. So we started putting those out mid-August, but the bulk of the seed to be put out at the end of October.
Okay, thank you. Mary? Kathy? I'm not sure which.
I'm going to be Mary first. Where do you seed, and what do you seed where?
I'm so glad you asked that. So we seed everywhere. It's
Okay.
actually a sort of short answer. So we seed the two species. So we have oyster and quahog seed. We do, and just to be clear, we do pathology testing before that goes anywhere, because it's going into different bodies of water that are not Witchmere Harbor, so everything's clear for pathology for any potential disease transfer between shellfish. Once we're clear, it goes into basically around the jetties in Nantucket Sound, Herring River, Allen Harbor, including the creek, the channel, and then just outside. Witchmere Harbor, the inner harbor, the channel, and then the outer harbor, like the inside of the outer harbor jetty, and then the shared jetty between Witchmere and Saquatucket, and then around into that channel of Saquatucket, and then also on the outside of those jetties. And then on the Pleasant Bay side, it's Muddy Creek, Pleasant Bay, and Round Cove. So pretty much anywhere where there's shellfishing in Harwich would be where we seed.
In just the two species. So what's the maturity rate on that seed? When does that?
So-
When would you anticipate that seed being harvestable?
So about 18 months for the oysters. They grow incredibly well in the upweller, and hopefully we can utilize all the tanks. Hopefully get some funds for some great tanks. We can use all of them. We can do more seed. But those do grow pretty quickly, and the seed we've been getting has been great. So I would say about 18 months. A lot of times you'll hear 2 years, but I mean, they were, like the ones we were putting out were like
That's
this
large.
already. And they have to be 3 inches for recreational harvest. That's the legal size. So it does take a little bit, but they grow quickly. The quahogs grow a little slower, and we get them smaller. We get like the bigger size that's available through our bidding process. But there are 3, so like about 3 millimeter quahogs, and then we grow them hopefully to 15 millimeters. We're a little bit restricted in our capacity with the limited tank space this year, but somewhere pretty much between like 12 and 15 millimeters, and then that can take up to 3 years, depending.
Once you seed.
Depending on like the
harvest.
size that it goes out and like where the seed comes from. Depending on the county bid, some seed grows a little faster than others, depending on the source of the seed, but up to 3 years, between 2 and 3 years for the
So the
quahog.
seeding you're doing is really supporting both the recreational and the commercial
Correct.
shellfishing.
Yep, and
in
then
Harwich.
we do about 500 permits a year.
And then the tanks. You did say you think these should be portable from a current facility to a potential new facility if that happens.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. And I think the adjustable legs is helpful because the current system that we have is basically a cascading system. So we have sort of a primary tank that's going to be the tallest one, a secondary tank, and in one case we even have a tertiary tank. So the water actually flows from one tank, drains, and then we have it plumbed so that it goes into a second tank. Because we have the option for adjustable legs, you could simply adjust the legs and we could run it as raceway tanks, which would, and have like basically primary water to both. So what happens if you have the tiered system that we do is that the shellfish in this tank are eating from that water, and then that water is going to another tank, so they're getting less food, so we have to constantly rotate stuff around because these will grow faster. You'll see it, they'll be bigger. So there's a lot of swapping around, but that would give us a lot more versatility. And the tanks would just be a little easier to move. I wouldn't really try to move any of the ones that are there right now. But I've been to some of the newer facilities on the Cape that have tanks that are made of more similar materials, and I think it looks nice and it's very functional. We spend a lot of our time, unfortunately, spend a lot of our time cleaning in there. We have a lot of fouling, and that would just be a nice, smooth, clean surface to start off with, and then I think be a lot easier for maintenance than what's currently there.
All right. Kathy did have, again, a question about whether this was really recreational, whether it was maintenance. So I would just say we will probably be having further discussions on maintenance versus not at a future meeting,
Okay.
just to give you that heads up.
Yes, and I'm happy to clarify if there's any question about sort of what we do for ongoing maintenance, or if the committee requests, I'm happy to provide an update either from facilities or from natural resources, depending on which department would be appropriate, on the status of either, I would say, natural resources for tanks, and probably Sean for
So really, the
floors.
tanks are the bulk of your ask at this point.
Correct.
And the tanks are what you need to support the growth of the seed
Correct.
to get you to.
I think it would be best if we're taking out the tanks to do the floors, and I think what Sean has mentioned is that they can just lay it right on top of what's there. So if they were to do it as maintenance, I think they could maybe fix some spots. But if we're taking all the tanks out of that facility, there's a lot of plumbing there. So if we were to say, get new tanks, and then like the next season have to replace the floors, that would be, I would have to ask Sean how that would work. But in terms of the functionality of that, I look at that as sort of, you do that all at the same time. So the last time they did a big maintenance project was about 10 years ago, so I think it was around 2015, and they had to reinforce the support piles for the infrastructure itself. And they did actually have to take tanks out. And at that point, I think they did some updates to the floors. But it gets a little more complex with all the plumbing that's attached to everything, because you also have to cut holes in the floors and adjust, like if you're adjusting tanks and if we're updating plumbing, then we're going to be cutting into the floors anyway.
Sure.
So hopefully that's helpful. But I'm happy to clarify, for a future meeting, if you need any supplemental materials for the status of.
I'm sure there will be additional questions,
Okay.
don't worry.
All set, Kathy.
I'm all set for Kathy's question.
Okay.
Marcy,
Kathy might not be all set for Kathy's question, which is my heads up.
there we go.
Thank you.
You said it's open to public. Where exactly are you located? Because I'm more visual, so I'd like to see the
Yes,
facility.
it is located at Witchmere Harbor, so it's actually at the town pier. So if you turn, like if you're coming from Saquatucket, you pass in the church, like just before Witchmere Harbor, if you turn down Harbor Road there, it'll be on your right. So if you park in that little town parking lot, and you're looking at the commercial boats that are at the town pier at Witchmere, it's just on your right there. Let me know if you want to come by this time of year, because our seed is already out, so it's closed right now.
Okay.
Like if you were just to go by during the day. But yes, when we're in season and we're operating, it's just, the doors are open. Just folks can come on in.
All set, Marcy.
Thank you. Yeah.
John?
Can you talk a little more about the history there? You said that the building was first put there when, in the 30s, did you say?
Yes, I believe 33, and it was used to pack, it was an ice house, so it was used to pack
That's right.
fish and ice.
Oh.
And yeah, it was actually used because there were all the fish weirs off of Harwich Port. And so they were bringing fish in from the weirs off of Harwich Port, and then they would pack, use the ice there to pack the fish and the ice. And then in 83, is my understanding, that the town said, okay, we own this, and they refurbished it around 1983, and then it didn't become the Shellfish Lab until 1994.
I see, so there was no shellfish stuff going on there before 94. It was more just about packing 110-pound boxes of fish with ice.
That's my understanding.
Okay,
I can't speak to between 83 and 94 so much.
I see.
Shellfish Lab and I were established the same year, so.
I'm just curious, can I follow up on what you just said?
Of course.
Are the wheels still out there?
No.
Or
Not
is
off
everything gone?
Harwich. Not up,
It's been taken.
in Harwich, yeah. I think one of the last weirs is in Hyannis, because I went out there a couple years ago to fish them, and
No, I would have
it's a pretty
sworn
cool experience.
I would have sworn I had seen a couple of, within the last 5 years off of Harwich.
It's been at least.
I've
Has it
seen
been
them
longer
out
than that?
there, but not in.
There are some off of Hyannis, and then there's a young
Used to be a big
individual
one
that's,
off of Dennis until they put the reef in.
Yeah.
yeah.
But Howard always had them out there.
I would have said there was one between West and Harwich Port in the last maybe 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years, because I was involved with some of the research. I can
Okay.
speak to that after.
Sorry.
If you're curious, I'm happy to let you know what research went on. But there's, like the Eldridge's weirs, for example, there was a bit of seal research done and seal deterrent research to see what would be feasible before those operations ceased. But I'm happy to provide answers to those questions after, if
All
you're
right.
curious.
Well, I got, ooh, I'm like stuttering here. I'm aware of the operation and stuff like that. And I have to admit that and the reason I'm not very knowledgeable is the one thing that I'm allergic to is shellfish.
Oh, jeez.
So I stay away from it. But I'm dying to come and see this operation when you're open for, in the springtime, right?
Yes.
And so I'm learning all kinds of good stuff here. Anyways, the sum of monies that you're asking is just basically for these tanks. And I understand there's a series of tanks and all the plumbing goes with and all this good stuff in the water. But is that a bare bones request, or is it, or if you had your druthers, would you be asking for more or less or what? I don't know.
We're moving towards getting a whole new facility, so yes. But all in steps. So trying to start with the tanks, but ultimately we'll be looking to CZM and Seaport Economic Council, those sorts of resources for both planning and design, and then after that phase, construction of a new facility, and with that, assessing the actual location. I hesitate to ask for more at this point. I mean, I'm also a new department head. I just started in June, so trying to sort of plan out my ask and be familiar with the different committees and resources that are available to the town departments. But we also, I mean, try to be pretty responsible with the resources that we have. It wasn't in great condition, but I think there's a lot there we can still use. I know there's some concerns about maintenance. There's probably a lot we could have asked for, but my concern with that would have been, well, can't you just maintain it? I mean, we have the silos we have are old. They're original. Chatham's are slightly newer. The individual who's still actually in aquaculture basically built and designed this facility, and then a few years later designed the Chatham one, so it's slightly better. Had some slight improvements because it was built a few years later after the Harwich one had been built. But I think a lot of those other items that we use, you know, pieces of equipment that we use for our operations, well, they're not in great condition. I can work with them. I mean, I've bought a lot of, I've bought a few tubs of like $8 plumber's putty and got a little bit of epoxy here and there. And I mean, my lab instructor is allergic to shellfish too, so don't worry. You can't eat these; they're not legal size yet. So come on down. You can check out our operations. But we've done a lot with, I mean, just trying even not to buy a bunch of new PVC. It would be great to update some plumbing, but we really try to be resourceful and work with what we have and sort of. I've cut a lot of PVC to make whatever I need.
So I'm trying to get an idea of the size of the operation and who runs this. I mean, what's the town's contribution to this operation?
It's a department.
Yep. So
It's a department in the town.
I run the
It's all her
facility.
operation.
So
Yep.
what's,
So
are you it? You're the department?
Some
And-
seasonals.
and-
I am the department for
and then-
Harwich.
And then
We have
public
a
volunteers, right?
Yep, so Natural Resources Department in Harwich is technically a one-person department, but I do have a couple of seasonal staff, so
Okay.
we have, like this summer is sort of typical for us. We had a lab instructor that worked 20 hours a week, a couple interns that each work 10 hours a week, and then I have a number of volunteers that come through the facility as well, seasonally. And then I use some of those same staff also help with water quality monitoring and with herring run maintenance, those sorts of things. But that is how the facility is run. And so in terms of the department's involvement or the town's involvement, it is a town facility. Historically, Harbor Master and Natural Resources were one department. So a number of years ago, when they split off, the Harbor Master department maintained basically ownership of the building itself. So when we're putting forward other proposals to actually replace, do design and planning constructions for the building, that is Harbor Master Department because they own the infrastructure. I have everything inside, so Natural Resources is in charge of all the equipment, all the tanks, working with facilities to make any maintenance type updates. And then just the general operations are carried out by myself and any Natural Resources volunteers and seasonals.
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions, Ren?
Just one question. You mentioned that, if I remember correctly, you mentioned that the building was moved there in 1933. Has anybody looked to see how old that building actually is?
Oh, no.
It's 1925.
Find out. I don't know.
Was that one of the buildings that was brought over from Nantucket?
I don't know. I don't know the
I
answer to
have
the
to-
question.
I've
Bob
seen-
Doan would have known the answer to the question, and he's not here tonight.
I've seen the tin plates.
So my
Bus is
only
dragging the buildings over.
question is, on a building that may have some historic provenance, it may have availability for some different funding for different reasons.
Oh.
So that's kind of where my thoughts come
So
from.
please explain to the young lady what you do. on the other committee.
So I am chair of historic, so if it's 100 years
Yep.
of age or older, we would have to worry about if you were going to demolish the building.
Yes.
That also being said, if it is a historic resource, and you're preserving that historic resource, there are CPC monies,
Yes.
funds available to do that. So I just.
We're unsure. I'm learning about the building as I go. So once we know some of that information, then
So I guess my point would be, I think to make it a historic resource it doesn't necessarily have to hit the 100 years. I think if it has a history as a fish house and has a history
Okay.
in the town, I don't know that it has to hit that 100 years is a date for demolition. Now, I wouldn't be super supportive of spending a lot of money to help preserve the building if the building's going to get knocked down in a couple of years. But at the same time, there may be historic funds available there on a CPC level to do what would preserve the building, which is more like maintenance plus, I guess I would say.
Well, we're going back to the initial ask is for essentially the tanks.
Right.
And the tanks
The
are
tanks and some equipment.
movable.
Correct,
So,
correct.
okay, and
No, I'm talking about historic resources relative to a building itself, David.
John,
Just one point. Stephanie mentioned support letter from Harwich Conservation Trust, which she just uploaded today. I was
yeah,
sending
yeah,
these
yes.
things as they arrived. That arrived after the last time I was paying attention. So there is one more letter, which I will send out the same way I sent it out.
After 3 today, you have a new one? You sent.
There were two that Stephanie submitted today,
yes, I
5
received.
or 10 minutes apart. I did
Yes.
not notice the second one.
Okey-dokey.
So you haven't seen that yet. I will take care of that, that's all.
Yes, so I.
so
rec-
John is saying he is bad.
Oh, no, that's okay. So, yes, for the shellfish, I received two today, so it's facilities and it's Harwich Conservation Trust, and then for both of these, we have an ask into waterways, so I think for this and for water quality equipment and for Hinckley's, the only other supplement that will be submitted would be if waterways were to offer a letter of support for those projects.
It's just internal process here.
Understood. Okay, anything from anybody else? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Heads up.
Be careful of the light.
Yep. Okay. Fall review, the status reports postponed from October 16. Any questions about that?
None.
Hearing none, moving on. Okay, old business, discussion of grant agreements, we're going to put a hold on that. Update social media, we're going to put a hold on that. Update the website application process.
I think the only update I just told you.
Got it. Any questions for Mr. Ketchum? Go ahead, Mary.
I just want to comment that I appreciate all the work John's done because I was the paper person and I was the holdout that wanted all my applications, and now I like looking at it online, John. So thank you for being persistent.
I love that.
Oh, you rubbed
I
off on a lot of
appreciate it.
people.
I appreciate your persistence and all your hard work, because I know you're doing a ton of work that none of us know about to get them uploaded and to make sure Jan sees them and everything. So thank you for that.
Okay, the next meeting is December 4th. So everybody has that on their timeline? Right. All right.
December 4th.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Anything from any board member want anything on the agenda?
So I just have one comment.
Yep.
We are still working on historic to get our new person appointed. It was not on my agenda last evening. and I didn't catch it on time, so we will be appointing somebody in December for the select board's approval to fill Bob Doan's vacancy on this board for historic.
When do you meet in December?
The third Wednesday.
Oh, so for
Terrible day.
neither of our December meetings?
Correct.
Gotcha. That's all I
Third
wanted
Wednesday.
to know.
I'm sorry, the third Wednesday of the month. And then my question for you, David, was, do we have an anticipated agenda for the next meeting?
Not yet.
Okay, that's all.
I will get that to you soon.
No problem.
I don't have, we have,
No, I don't want to go into anything tonight, Jim.
no, just what you put off.
Right,
The three things that you postponed,
right.
the three old business
They'll
items.
be on.
Perfect.
I'm really, I really want to get the numbers from the finance department.
Understood.
And I'm pushing all my energy into making that happen. So,
But, and then we do have presentations.
oh, well, yeah, that goes
Yeah.
without saying.
Okay.
I got
So, I mean,
Yep.
I mean,
All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
you
So
got this,
moved.
right?
Second.
All in favor?
Mary, Darcy.
So be it.